I don't know. Sometimes it's like the weather. It just is. And I'm afraid it just did not happen. It wasn't raining in Manchester today, but it was certainly miserable.
The Manchester derby, I guess, is where we're going to start with this one. It hasn't been too many times we've seen this finish scoreless, but all the headlines suggest it was a bit drab, this match.
Poppy, I think my biggest takeaway is that that's 90 minutes of our lives that none of us will get back, unfortunately. I mean, it was just absolutely dross. I find it difficult to believe that that was a Manchester derby. This means so much to those sets of supporters. There's just no passion, no desire, no risk. Honestly, I think it's lazy to say a game is rubbish. I've never liked that. I always think you've got to say, well, why was it poor? Why was it such a poor game? I'm genuinely struggling to find a reason. I don't know why it was so flat. Manchester City of late had shown some form. Marmoush had looked like a more than capable substitute for Erling Haaland. But it just didn't happen at any point in the game. I mean, when Garnacho had that great run in the first 30 seconds or so, you thought, wow, great, we're on for a cracker here. But it just fizzled away badly. And kind of the reaction of both sets of players at the end, it was that they looked like they were, okay, it's a Manchester derby, we didn't lose. That was the main thing. I don't think they set out not to lose, either team, but I don't know. Sometimes it's like the weather. It just is. And I'm afraid it just did not happen. It wasn't raining in Manchester today, but it was certainly miserable.
Jeff, good to see you, man. Well, who would be more happy, though? Would it be Manchester City that has trouble conceding goals? They're away from home, they get a point, or would it be Man United on the flip side? They're another team struggling to keep goals out, but they also don't score, which has been an issue for them. So who will walk away being more happy with the point?
Grella, I think you'd have to say Manchester City because they're the away team. It keeps them a point behind Chelsea, so they're in fifth, and it keeps them a point ahead of Villa as well. That race for the Champions League spot is so tight. We expect it to go down to fifth now. So a point is decent. It is decent. But if you look at Manchester United's form this season, but again, I've got to be a little bit more forgiving than I am. It is a derby, and you don't want to lose. So these games are often tight, but unfortunately it wasn't entertaining, it wasn't exciting, it wasn't interesting. But I think City will say, yeah, okay, that is an okay-ish point at best, Grella. Okay-ish. I don't think either manager will be doing a jig of delight.
Hey, Jeff, so we had a historic moment today. Southampton becomes the quickest team to get relegated. So where did it all go so wrong, and how have they reached this level of futility?
Am I the good news correspondent or something? so one of the worst Manchester derbies in living memory, and now we go on to one of the worst teams in living memory. Oh, Matteo, where do you want to start? Honestly, the change from Russell Martin in December just hasn't worked. Has not worked. Russell Martin picked up 6 points. Ivan Juric, he's picked up a mighty 4 points. They've been awful. But to be honest with you, the signs were there from the very start. They got 1 point from their first 9 games. Now, after that fantastic unbeaten run, beating Leeds in the Championship, they bounced into the Premier League. And, okay, understand, any team that is promoted, as we're seeing with Leicester and Ipswich, there's always doubts about them. But, this is a really bad record. First team ever to be relegated with with 7 games left. That's the worst ever. Now they're going to be desperate to avoid Derby in 07-08, who went down with 11 points. They've got 10 points. So they've got to change this. It's as simple as that. They've got 10 points now. Derby had 11. They've got to get past them. Otherwise, they're going to have an unwanted record around their necks. But it's been a really, really bad season and a lot of poor results.
Jeff, staying at the bottom of the table in the relegation zone, did you have any of these 3 teams that came up at the beginning of the year surviving the Premier League? Because it looks like it's going to be one and done here for these 3.
Well, I'm a bit embarrassed to say it, Tony. We have to whisper it in front of Poppy, but I think a few people had Forest down there, didn't they?
They sure did, Jeff.
They thought they might struggle again. Tony, they were always going to be amongst people's thoughts in the teams going down, but maybe not as, so limply as this. I think that's the worst thing about this. It's just been a non-contest. Ipswich have a little bit of a free pass because they went up 2 divisions, didn't they? So it was always going to be a big ask for them. But both Leicester and Southampton changed coach mid-season to try and get a reaction, to try and change the course, to try and change the trajectory, and it just simply has not happened. So poor seasons for both. I expect Leicester to go. Look, the gap's too big at the bottom now. I think that they're done, they're dusted, they're gone. And Southampton will try and avoid. I mean, there's a whole heap of records, unwanted records, that they could still break. And they'll try and salvage something from the season. But even if they do, it's been bad.
Yeah, Geoff, you said actually no one enjoyed the Manchester derby. I think Forest fans quite enjoyed it. It kept Manchester City at bay in the race for the Champions League competition next season. But speaking of maybe more negative news, let's just touch on Liverpool, because although they've run away with the Premier League title, they ended their run of 26 games unbeaten today in the Premier League against Fulham. What was the reaction from that match? Is it that bad a news for them, or is this kind of be one of those that's just swept under the rug a bit?
Yeah, look, it's probably simple. If they win it, which we all expect them to win it, nobody will give this match a thought. First game they've lost away from home this season. Arne Slot said afterwards that it wasn't complacency. It was down to individual errors. That was the problem there. They weren't at their best. Fulham were very, very good. But across a whole season, you know, they're not going to be too worried about it at all. I still expect them to win it, and they'll win it well before the end of the season as well.
Geoff, just a quick one, because I'm so I want to know so much more about Manchester City and Man United because of what's been going on there this season. It's such unbelievable outlier seasons for both of them. Where do they finish next season? Where does Manchester City finish next season? Where does Man United finish next season in the table?
Grella, I hope that you and I will have that conversation at the start of next season.
Oh, we will.
When they've done their transfer business, because I expect them both to be really, really active. I was a little bit surprised about Mason Mount today, because he was a player who did really, really well in midweek, and Ruben Amorim said, you know, he really fits into the system. I thought he was a shoo-in for today, but they've got a lot of work to do. You know, to get back to their competitive. We've seen City starting to do it. They went fairly big in the January window, but I don't think we can judge until we know what they've got in their armoury.
Geoff, let me ask you a slightly easier question, just very quickly. Did Manchester City make it into the Champions League with the 5 places England might have?
Yes, for me they do, because, but I just think, Poppy, by their standards, it's been, you know, they're incredibly high standards. It's been a really, really disappointing season. So therefore, this means a huge amount to them. They will not want to give that Champions League place up, not at all. So, and I think they've still got enough, but it won't be easy.
Well, it's going to be a great run in to close the season, isn't it? Because Fulham, Newcastle and Aston Villa are right on their heels for these last few matches. Great stuff, Geoff. Good to see you. Cheers. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, folks.